Imagine, you're at the bottom of the Atlantic,
Yeah.
sifting through muck and debris for decades,
Yeah.
and you pull up a piece of machinery, you're brushing it off, and
Hmm.
you see the serial number 2044. This is no ordinary hunk of metal.
Wow.
This is one of the engines that launched Apollo 11,
Oh, wow.
the mission that first put humans on the moon. And it was recovered thanks to one of the people we're going to be talking about today. We're diving deep into the world of modern space exploration, guided by the Space Barons by Christian Davenport.
Great book.
It's a fascinating look at four billionaires:
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, and Paul Allen,
All huge names.
and how their dreams, rivalries, and innovations has reignited the space race, taking it in directions no one could have predicted.
It's really like watching a relay race where the baton gets passed from government agencies to these ambitious entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Each of these individuals brought their own unique perspectives and resources to the table,
Right?
transforming a field that had been dominated by governments for decades.
Okay, so the book starts with Jeff Bezos. And let me tell you, his journey into space is anything but conventional. It actually begins with a near-death experience.
That's right. Before Blue Origin even existed, Bezos was scouting land in Texas for his future spaceport when his helicopter crashed.
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty dramatic introduction to the inherent risks involved in pushing the boundaries of space exploration.
You could say it foreshadowed the high-stakes nature of his ambitions.
Yeah.
It's like the universe was giving him a taste of the challenges to come.
Yeah, what's striking is how this event didn't deter Bezos.
Right.
It seemed to fuel his determination. Remember, this is someone whose passion for space was ignited as a 5-year-old watching the moon landing.
Yeah.
He carried that fascination with him throughout his life, eventually leading him to secretly buy a huge chunk of Texas land for Blue Origin.
I can't even imagine.
And even fund that incredible deep-sea expedition to recover F-1 engines from the Apollo missions.
Talk about a childhood dream coming full circle. It's almost like he was trying to reclaim a piece of history, a piece of that Apollo legacy to fuel his own space ventures.
And it wasn't just a symbolic gesture. Bezos was obsessed with understanding the technology, the engineering, the sheer audacity of those early space missions. He wanted to learn from the past to build the future.
So before we get to Bezos and Musk going head-to-head, the book introduces us to another pioneer, Andy Beal.
Oh, yeah.
He was a self-made billionaire, made his fortune in finance and poker.
Wow.
And he decided to tackle space exploration. This was before Bezos and Musk even entered the scene.
Beal was a fascinating character. Imagine a brilliant mathematician with a knack for high-stakes gambling, turning his attention to building rockets.
What a story.
He poured his fortune into Beal Aerospace, aiming to develop cheaper and more efficient rockets.
He even had some successful test launches, right?
He did, but despite his early successes, Beal ultimately had to shut down Beal Aerospace. It turned out that building rockets was a bit more complex than winning at the poker table.
So what happened? Why did he fail where others like Bezos and Musk would later succeed?
Beal's story highlights a crucial point. The space industry is not for the faint of heart. It's a capital-intensive endeavor that requires not just financial resources,
I see.
but also deep technical expertise, a tolerance for risk, and a long-term vision.
Okay.
Beal, despite his brilliance and determination, underestimated the sheer complexity and the many hurdles involved.
Yeah.
It's like trying to climb Mount Everest without proper gear or preparation.
Oh.
You might make some progress, but the odds are stacked against you.
It makes you realize just how daunting a challenge space exploration really is.
Absolutely. And it makes the achievements of those who followed, like Bezos and Musk, even more remarkable.
Yeah.
They learned from the mistakes of those who came before them, adapted their strategies,
Right.
and ultimately persevered through setbacks and challenges that would have crippled most others.
So speaking of those who followed, let's talk about Elon Musk. He had already made a name for himself with Zip2 and PayPal before turning his attention to space.
Musk always thought big. He wasn't content with simply disrupting industries on Earth. He wanted to revolutionize space travel.
Yeah.
And he was frustrated by what he saw as NASA's slow and bureaucratic approach.
He basically said, if NASA won't do it, I will, right?
Pretty much. He founded SpaceX with the goal of making space travel more affordable and accessible.
Okay.
Not just for governments and astronauts, but for everyday people. He envisioned a future where humanity became a multi-planetary species with Mars as the first step.
That's a pretty bold vision, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. But Musk's early days were far from glamorous.
Yeah,
He faced a steep learning curve, technical challenges,
of course.
and skepticism from the established aerospace industry.
Mhm.
Imagine a young entrepreneur still in his 30s,
Wow.
challenging giants like Lockheed Martin and Boeing companies that had been building rockets for decades. It was a classic David versus Goliath scenario.
And those early years were marked by some pretty significant setbacks, right?
Yes.
The book talks about the 3 failed Falcon 1 launches,
Yeah.
the legal battles with established aerospace giants,
Right.
and the initial skepticism from NASA itself. It must have felt like an uphill battle every step of the way.
Musk faced constant pressure, both financial and technical. He poured his own fortune into SpaceX, often teetering on the brink of bankruptcy.
Oh, wow.
There were moments when it seemed like the company wouldn't survive, but Musk was driven by an unwavering belief in his vision and a relentless determination to succeed. He had this almost uncanny ability to rally his team,
Right.
to inspire them to push beyond what seemed possible even when the odds were stacked against them.
So while Bezos was quietly laying the groundwork for Blue Origin,
Yes.
Musk was out there facing down challenges head-on and capturing the public's imagination with his audacious goals. It's almost like 2 different approaches to achieving the same dream.
It's a fascinating contrast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bezos, the methodical strategist building his company in near secrecy, and Musk, the bold risk-taker challenging the status quo and pushing the limits of what seemed achievable.
Yeah.
Both approaches had their merits, and both would ultimately contribute to the resurgence of the space industry.
And then there's Paul Allen, the co-founder of Microsoft. While Bezos and Musk were focused on rockets,
Okay.
Allen took a different approach. He wanted to prove that private space flight was possible, and he was willing to put his money where his mouth was.
Allen believed in the power of competition to drive innovation.
Yeah.
He funded the Ansari X Prize, a $10 million competition that challenged teams from around the world to build and launch a spacecraft capable of reaching space twice within 2 weeks.
Wow.
It was a bold gamble, one that many thought was impossible.
It sounds like something straight out of a movie.
Yeah.
A group of underdog engineers trying to beat the odds and win a prize that could change the course of history.
It was a high-stakes competition, and the
Yeah.
stakes were not just financial.
Right.
The X Prize was about proving that private individuals, not just governments, could achieve the dream of spaceflight. It was about opening up the space frontier to a new generation of innovators and entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just about the money or the prestige. This competition sparked a wave of innovation and investment, proving that space travel wasn't just the realm of governments and giant corporations.
It's amazing to think that a relatively small prize like that could have such a ripple effect across an entire industry. So who are the key players in this space race drama?
Well, one of the most compelling stories is that of Burt Rutan and his company, Scaled Composites. They were the ultimate underdogs, a small, privately held company going up against teams with significantly more resources and experience.
I've heard of Rutan. He's a bit of a legend in the aerospace world, right? Known for his unconventional designs and his willingness to push boundaries.
Exactly. Rutan was a maverick, a true visionary. He wasn't afraid to challenge conventional wisdom and come up with radical new designs. And his creation, Spaceship One, was a testament to that spirit of innovation.
So tell me more about Spaceship One. What made it so special?
Imagine a spacecraft that looks like a cross between a glider and a rocket. That's Spaceship One. It was designed to be launched from a carrier aircraft, giving it a significant advantage in terms of flexibility and cost efficiency compared to traditional rockets.
So instead of blasting off from a launch pad, it was carried aloft by a mothership, almost like a baby bird leaving the nest. What a clever approach.
And it worked. In 2004, Spaceship One made history, becoming the first privately funded spacecraft to reach space twice within 2 weeks, fulfilling the requirements of the Ansari X Prize.
It must have been an incredible moment, witnessing the dawn of private spaceflight. What was the atmosphere like?
The Mojave Desert, where the flights took place, became a focal point for the world's attention. There was this palpable sense of excitement, anticipation, and a bit of disbelief as Spaceship One soared into the sky, breaking through the boundaries of what was thought possible. It was a triumph of human ingenuity, a testament to the power of dreams and the unwavering pursuit of a seemingly impossible goal.
It's like something out of a movie, a small team of passionate engineers achieving what many thought was impossible. So what happened after Spaceship One won the X Prize? Did it kickstart a whole new industry like Allen had hoped?
It absolutely did. The X Prize proved that private spaceflight was not just a dream, it was a viable reality. and it attracted a new wave of entrepreneurs and investors eager to capitalize on this emerging market.
And that's where Richard Branson enters the picture, right? The book describes him as the ultimate showman, always up for an adventure.
Branson, with his flamboyant personality and knack for grabbing headlines, was drawn to the allure of space travel. He saw the potential for space tourism, offering ordinary people the chance to experience the wonder of spaceflight.
It's like he took the baton from Ellen and Rutan and said, okay, let's make this a reality. Let's take people to space.
Exactly. Branson acquired the rights to Spaceship-On's technology and founded Virgin Galactic, aiming to create the world's first commercial space tourism company.
He even made a grand entrance, landing his helicopter on the stage at a press conference to announce the creation of Virgin Galactic Talk about making a statement.
Branson understood the power of spectacle, of capturing the public's imagination. He wanted to make space travel feel accessible, exciting, and even a bit glamorous.
So while Bezos was meticulously building Blue Origin in relative secrecy, and Musk was focused on proving SpaceX's capabilities with government contracts, Branson was out there drumming up excitement for space tourism and making it a topic of dinner table conversation.
He was a master of marketing and public relations, and his involvement in the space race added a new dimension, a sense of adventure and accessibility that appealed to a wider audience.
Yeah, it's like he was the front man of this new space movement, while Bezos and Musk were working behind the scenes to build the infrastructure and technology that would make it all possible.
It's a good analogy. They each played a distinct role in shaping the narrative and the direction of this new space age.
Speaking of shaping the direction, the book talks about a major shift in the U.S. space program during the Obama administration. It was a move that essentially opened the door for private companies to play a much bigger role in space exploration.
That's right. Under President Obama, NASA shifted its focus away from developing its own rockets and spacecraft, instead opting to partner with private companies like SpaceX and Boeing. It was a controversial decision at the time, with some critics arguing that it was putting the future of American space exploration in the hands of unproven companies.
It seems like a big gamble. Why would NASA take such a risk?
It was a calculated risk driven by both budgetary constraints and a recognition that the private sector was becoming increasingly capable in the realm of space technology. NASA was essentially saying, we can't do it all ourselves anymore. We need to leverage the innovation and efficiency of the private sector to achieve our goals.
So it was a bit like outsourcing, but on a cosmic scale.
Yeah, you could say that. And it was a gamble that ultimately paid off. Companies like SpaceX stepped up to the challenge, proving that they could deliver on NASA's requirements and even exceed expectations.
And the program that really embodied this shift was the Commercial Orbital Transportation Services Program, or COTS, right?
Exactly. COTS was designed to stimulate the development of commercial cargo and crew transportation capabilities to and from the International Space Station. It was a way for NASA to incentivize private companies to invest in space technology and to foster competition that would ultimately benefit the space program as a whole.
So instead of building its own rockets and spacecraft, NASA essentially said to the private sector, hey, if you build it, we will come. We'll be your customer.
That's a good way to put it. And it was a strategy that proved to be incredibly effective. Companies like SpaceX and Orbital Sciences, later acquired by Northrop Grumman, rose to the occasion, developing innovative and cost-effective solutions for transporting cargo to the space station.
The book focuses on SpaceX's journey through the COTS program. What were some of the key milestones and challenges they faced?
Well, one of the biggest challenges was simply proving that SpaceX could deliver on its promises. They were a young company with limited experience going up against established aerospace giants like Boeing. There was a lot of skepticism, even within NASA, about whether they could pull it off.
It must have been a lot of pressure, especially for a company that was still relatively new to the scene.
It was. But Musk and his team at SpaceX were driven by a relentless determination to succeed. They worked tirelessly pushing the boundaries of technology and innovation. And step by step, they began to achieve those early milestones.
So what were some of those early wins that helped build their credibility?
One of the key milestones was the successful launch of their Falcon 9 rocket in 2010. This was a significant achievement, demonstrating that SpaceX could build and launch a reliable and powerful rocket capable of delivering payloads into orbit.
It was like a coming-of-age moment for SpaceX. They were no longer just a startup with big dreams. They were a legitimate player in the space industry.
Exactly. And that launch opened the door for even bigger opportunities.
Like the successful birthing of their Dragon spacecraft with the International Space Station in 2012, right?
That's right. The Dragon spacecraft was a game changer. It was the first commercially built and operated spacecraft to dock with the space station.
It's incredible to think that a private company was now responsible for delivering supplies to the astronauts, living and working in space. It really marked a shift in the paradigm of space exploration.
It did, and it didn't stop there. SpaceX continued to rack up wins, securing a coveted contract to launch national security payloads for the Air Force, breaking a long-standing monopoly held by United Launch Alliance, a joint venture between Boeing and Lockheed Martin.
That must have been a huge victory, a sign that SpaceX was truly disrupting the established order of the space industry.
It was a major turning point. It showed that SpaceX was not just a competitor, they were a force to be reckoned with. They were winning contracts, launching missions, and proving that their approach to space travel was not just innovative, but also cost-effective and reliable.
It sounds like they were really hitting their stride. But the book also mentioned some setbacks along the way, right?
Even with their successes, SpaceX was not immune to the inherent risks of space travel. In 2015, a Falcon 9 rocket exploded during a routine mission to resupply the International Space Station.
It must have been a devastating blow, both for SpaceX and for the space program as a whole.
It was a major setback, a stark reminder of the fragility of spaceflight and the unforgiving nature of the environment they were operating in. But it also revealed something important about SpaceX's culture.
What do you mean?
Instead of shying away from the failure, Musk and his team embraced it as a learning opportunity. They conducted a thorough investigation, identified the root cause of the problem, and implemented changes to prevent it from happening again.
So they took a page from the Silicon Valley playbook, fail fast, learn fast.
Exactly. They recognized that failure was not an option, but it was an inevitable part of the process.
It's like the old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And in SpaceX's case, it seemed to make them even more determined to succeed.
Absolutely. The 2015 explosion was a turning point, a crucible that forged a stronger and even more resilient company. It solidified their commitment to safety, their relentless pursuit of improvement, and their unwavering belief in their mission.
So while SpaceX was charging ahead, making headlines and breaking barriers, what was Jeff Bezos up to with Blue Origin? The book describes his approach as slow and steady, a stark contrast to Musk's more public and often dramatic style.
Bezos, unlike Musk, preferred to operate in near secrecy, building his company meticulously and methodically in the West Texas desert. He had a long-term vision for Blue Origin, one that extended far beyond simply launching rockets or winning government contracts. He was laying the groundwork for a future space economy, one where space travel would become affordable and accessible to everyone, not just astronauts and billionaires.
It's interesting how the book contrasts their approaches. Musk, the hare racing towards his Mars ambitions, and Bezos, the tortoise, steadily building his foundation for a future space ecosystem.
It's a classic fable, isn't it? And it highlights the different philosophies and personalities driving these two space titans. Musk, the visionary, driven by a sense of urgency to colonize Mars and ensure humanity's survival. And Bezos, the builder, focused on creating the infrastructure and the technologies that would enable a thriving and sustainable space economy.
So two different approaches.
Yeah.
But ultimately both contributing to the same goal, opening up space for humanity.
Exactly. Their rivalry, while often intense, also fueled innovation and accelerated progress across the industry. It's like a saying in business, a rising tide lifts all boats. The advancements made by SpaceX and Blue Origin benefited not just their own companies, but the entire space sector.
And one of the key areas where this rivalry played out was in the development of reusable rocket technology, right?
That's right. Reusable rockets were the holy grail of space travel.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to launch a rocket, land it back on Earth intact, and then reuse it for another mission, just like an airplane. It would dramatically reduce the cost of space travel, opening up possibilities that were previously unimaginable.
And both SpaceX and Blue Origin were racing to achieve this breakthrough, right? What were some of the key milestones in this so-called landing wars?
Well, SpaceX, with their penchant for public spectacle, grabbed headlines in 2015 when they successfully landed their Falcon 9 rocket on a drone ship at sea. It was a feat that many thought was impossible, and it marked a major turning point in the pursuit of reusable rocket technology.
It must have been an incredible sight. A rocket descending from the sky and gently touching down on a platform bobbing in the ocean.
He was a technological marvel, a testament to the ingenuity and determination of the SpaceX team, and it sent shockwaves through the industry.
So last time we were talking about how the rivalry between these space barons
Right.
actually pushed the entire industry forward.
Yeah.
It's a bit like a rising tide lifting all boats, even if those boats are sleek, reusable rockets.
Competition often breeds innovation, and that's certainly been the case in the new space race. It's pushed companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin to constantly raise the bar, developing new technologies and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
So let's talk about some of the other players who've entered this new space arena. The Space Barons doesn't just focus on the big names like Bezos and Musk.
Right.
It also highlights the emergence of a whole ecosystem of space startups,
Yeah.
tackling everything from asteroid mining to space manufacturing,
Yeah, it's like,
almost like a gold rush.
yeah.
But instead of panning for gold, they're looking to tap into the resources of the solar system.
It's an apt analogy. The success of companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin has sparked a wave of investment and entrepreneurship, attracting a new generation of innovators and investors who see the vast potential of space. They're not just replicating what governments have done.
Yeah.
They're exploring entirely new frontiers, developing technologies and business models that could revolutionize industries here on Earth and pave the way for a sustainable human presence in space.
Let's dive into some of these exciting new ventures. The book mentions Planetary Resources, a company that set its sights on a rather ambitious goal,
Okay.
mining asteroids for precious metals.
Imagine a future where we're not just launching satellites and sending probes into space. We're actually extracting resources from asteroids and other celestial bodies.
Wow.
That's the vision Planetary Resources was pursuing. They believed that asteroids, which are rich in valuable metals like platinum and gold, could become a source of raw materials for industries on Earth and in space, potentially alleviating resource scarcity and opening up new economic opportunities.
It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, but
Yeah.
it's actually grounded in sound science and engineering principles.
Absolutely. Asteroids are like flying treasure chests,
Yeah.
filled with valuable resources that could be used to build infrastructure, create new technologies, and even fuel future space missions. It's a bold and ambitious undertaking, but the potential rewards are immense.
And it's not just about mining asteroids. The book also talks about Made in Space, a company that's pioneering the concept of space manufacturing.
Yeah.
They even sent a 3D printer to the International Space Station.
Made in Space is a great example of how space can be used to create new possibilities here on Earth. Imagine being able to manufacture products in space, using the unique environment of microgravity and vacuum to create materials and structures that are impossible to produce on Earth.
It's like taking advantage of the ultimate off-world factory.
Exactly. And the applications are vast, from building lightweight and ultra-strong materials for aerospace and construction to creating specialized medical devices and even producing high-efficiency solar panels. Space manufacturing could revolutionize industries, create new jobs, and drive economic growth both here on Earth and in space.
So we've got asteroid mining, space manufacturing, and of course the continued push for space tourism. It seems like there's a whole ecosystem of space-based businesses emerging, each contributing to this new space economy that Bezos envisioned.
It's like watching a new industry being born with entrepreneurs and investors eager to capitalize on the vast potential of space. And it's not just about profits. These companies are also pushing the boundaries of technology, developing innovations that could benefit humanity in countless ways.
But amidst all this excitement and opportunity, the Space Barons also raises some important questions about the potential challenges and risks of this new space age. It seems like there's a growing awareness of the need for ethical guidelines and responsible practices as we venture further into the cosmos.
As we become more reliant on space for communication, navigation, Earth observation, and even resource extraction, we need to ensure that our activities are sustainable and that we're not creating problems that could jeopardize the future of space exploration. It's like exploring a pristine wilderness. We need to be mindful of our impact and take steps to preserve the environment for future generations.
So what are some of the specific concerns that are being raised?
One of the biggest concerns is the growing problem of space debris. As we launch more satellites and rockets into orbit, the amount of debris in space is increasing, creating a hazard for spacecraft and potentially even jeopardizing access to space in the future.
It's like leaving trash in a national park.
Right.
It not only detracts from the beauty of the environment, but it can also pose a threat to the wildlife and the ecosystem.
That's a good analogy. Space debris is a growing problem, and it's one that requires international cooperation and responsible practices to mitigate. Companies and governments need to develop technologies for deorbiting satellites and removing debris from space, and we need to establish clear guidelines and regulations to prevent the further accumulation of debris.
Another concern the book touches on is the potential for conflict in space. As more countries and companies become involved in space exploration, there's a risk that rivalries and tensions on Earth could spill over into the space domain.
Imagine a scenario where countries or companies are competing for access to resources on the moon or asteroids, or where military satellites are deployed in orbit, creating a potential flashpoint for conflict.
It's a sobering thought. and it highlights the need for international cooperation and diplomacy to ensure that space remains a realm of peaceful exploration and scientific discovery.
Absolutely. We need to establish clear norms of behavior treaties that govern activities in space and mechanisms for resolving disputes peacefully. The future of space exploration depends on our ability to work together to share the benefits of space and to avoid the mistakes of the past.
The space barons has given us a lot to think about.
It has.
The incredible opportunities of this new space age, the remarkable achievements of these visionary entrepreneurs, and the challenges and responsibilities that come with expanding our reach to the cosmos.
It's a story that's still unfolding, and the choices we make today will determine the future of humanity's relationship with space.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the space barons, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought-provoking question. As we venture further into the unknown, what kind of future do we want to create in space? Will it be a future of cooperation and shared prosperity, or will it be a reflection of the conflicts and divisions that plague our planet? The answer lies in our hands. Until next time, keep looking up and keep dreaming big.